it's Red Eye Radio, with talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, Chris Krok, this is Red Eye Radio.
Across America, it's Red Eye Radio. Chris Krok in for Gary McNamara, Eric Harley. They will be back tomorrow night. I am with you on the new year and loving it very much. So, we have some pictures that just came out today. I don't know if I was talking to Brian, one of our producers at Red Eye, as I'm filling in tonight for Eric and Gary. I asked him, have you ever seen a picture of Bill Clinton getting a massage from one of these underage victims of sex trafficking in a Portuguese airport? I mean, you'd have think I made this stuff up. I never saw this picture until today in the New York Daily News. And, excuse me, New York Post, excuse me. And man, I am looking at pictures of several things in the New York Post, one of which is a 17-year-old at the time girl who was sex trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. And you need to understand, if you don't, how this worked. Ghislaine Maxwell would pull up in a limousine. I heard one of the stories about how they recruited these girls to be sex trafficked. Ghislaine Maxwell would pull up in a limousine in front of a school where she drove by and she saw in the area where they're playing and such outside a beautiful 14-year-old or 15-year-old girl at this middle school or at a high school, and she would go up to them and say, hey, you are so pretty. Do you know that you should be a model? I can help you with that. And how would you like to travel all over the world and enjoy all the trappings and lifestyle of a model? And so she would recruit and groom these 14, 15, 16, whatever they were, 17-year-old, but they certainly weren't legal to consent. And she would groom them, and then she would bring them to Jeffrey Epstein to rape. Because that's what a minor, you can't have consensual sex. Especially with it's unthinkable with his age difference and everything like that. So what in God's name is a 17-year-old child rape victim, a sex trafficking victim, massaging Bill Clinton's shoulders in a Portuguese airport probably 6 to 8 months or less after he was the President of the United States of America in 2002? Does that look good to you? Is there anything you can think of that could possibly explain how that is innocuous? Do you think, let me ask you this, because if you're married, like I am, 23 years now, entering my 24th year of blissful marriage, good marriage. It's not always blissful, but, you know. Can you imagine seeing a picture, if your wife seeing a picture of you getting massaged by a 17-year-old? Could you imagine that? Who's not your daughter? Who's not like a niece where you would still be like, well, if you're at a family gathering and she does something like that in front of everybody, I guess. But, you know, something like that. Oh, relax, Uncle so-and-so. No. This is a 17-year-old girl. Your mom has no idea she exists, or your wife has no idea she exists. And you're at an airport in Portugal and she's massaging your shoulders. How the heck do you think your wife's gonna act with that? What's her response going to be? She's going to think you're cheating on her with some 17-year-old girl in Portugal. Anyway, so that picture came out today in the New York Post, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. But then also we find out that the documents that have been withheld, redacted, are going to be dropped probably tomorrow, or actually today, now that it's Tuesday morning. Wow. Just blink my eyes, it's Tuesday. And Bill Clinton will be unmasked tomorrow or shortly thereafter as John Doe number 36, and is identified more than 50 times in this Jeffrey Epstein document dump coming tomorrow, or today, later today, reportedly. It could be a little later this week, but I've heard a lot of stuff with Fox News today saying today. The redacted documents are from a 2015 lawsuit from the Epstein accuser Virginia Giuffre, if I'm pronouncing her name correctly. ABC News broke this over the weekend, over the holiday weekend. And I don't see how this helps him in any way, shape, or form. This is bad. And the one thing that we haven't got yet, we won't get yet, is the Epstein flight logs. And I heard a former prosecutor who was literally in the Justice Department when Epstein allegedly hanged himself. Quick sidebar. One of the favorite ornaments that I've ever seen out there is an ornament that's got a picture of Jeffrey Epstein smiling. And it says, "This ornament didn't hang itself." Okay, I'm going to say that again. Jeffrey Epstein on the front of the ornament, smiling, and says, "This ornament didn't hang itself." Get that Epstein ornament. Stat. It's my favorite ornament on my Christmas tree. This ornament didn't hang itself. Many of the references to Clinton are believed to stem from her, Giuffre's, attempts to compel the former president to testify against Epstein and his former paramour and co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, there's also a picture, this sex traffic victim, Virginia Giuffre, who brought this lawsuit that eventually got it redacted. The judge ruled to redact it, to release the documents right before Christmas, and that's why it's coming out after the holiday, federal holiday today. Monday. It'll come this afternoon, probably, is what the reports are saying. But she got a picture of herself holding up of herself when she was 17 being sex trafficked. This is the girl, at the time girl, now woman, who says Prince Andrew slept with me. Or actually, we should say raped me, because it's not consensual sex when you're a minor. So he denies it, but she says she was told by Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein on numerous occasions to have sex with Prince Andrew. So are you telling me, and I'm not alleging she did have sex with Bill Clinton, but are you, and guess what else? Bill Clinton, she says she saw him on the Caribbean island Little St. James, ABC reported. Giuffre attempted to subpoena Bill Clinton to testify in her lawsuit, claiming that she met the former president at Epstein's private Caribbean island. So, can you think of anything Bill Clinton would be at Epstein's island in the Caribbean to do? You really think he was just there to unwind? When this poor young lady who was sex trafficked is massaging him in this picture in the New York Post today in a Portuguese airport. I mean, it's just insane. You can see the picture. You can see the full story. Follow me on Twitter. You can see it from my Twitter feed, at Chris Krok Show. That's at Chris Krok Show, ChrisKrok. I am a proud host in the evening at WBAP in Dallas, which carries the Red Eye Radio show, Eric and Gary. And you can check me out at WBAP.com, our website, as well. But you see that picture on the New York Post story I tweeted hours ago, and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's like, I mean, to me, that's just, what are you doing at an airport in Portugal getting massaged by a 17-year-old girl who was sex trafficked during that very moment? You were there, at this time. There's no excuse. It's incredible. So now here's the thing. As I mentioned, the former federal prosecutor with the Department of Justice, who was there when Epstein either hung himself or was killed, take your pick, she said that the flight logs are going to be more damning. Now, we don't have those yet. They're not out yet, but they very well could be released in not too distant futures, what I heard from her. And once those are released, those are going to be damning. Because when you see, if you see Bill Clinton flying dozens and dozens of times to these sex prostitution, children's sex traffic locations, then that is, I mean, this is damning. You know what I thought about with this that really got me? That got me the most on this? Two things. It was seeing that little girl, that 17-year-old girl, massaging the former president of the United States of America, who was just the president the previous year. And thinking of my daughter. Can you imagine your precious daughter being in some foreign country massaging Bill Clinton's shoulders, let alone being sex trafficked? And that is what really, really, really angered me. And the other thing is I thought about is, you know how over the years and the past decades or whatever, and for hundreds of years we've heard, oh, yeah, you know, the rich and powerful people, they get to do whatever they want. They can take our daughters, have their way with them, never get caught, never get in trouble, and we just go earn money and get taxed and do all the hard work. Seeing that picture of Bill getting a massage from her and not even, like, caring while he's sitting there staring up at a screen at an airport told me everything I need to see. And it's like, oh, my gosh. Everything that we've thought maybe, or we've been told over the years, like, no, it can't be that bad. It is that bad. These rich and powerful people chew up and spit out our daughters, or whoever they please, with impunity. And whether it be Bill, Bill Gates, trying to buy up our farmland, tell us what to eat, tell us who to vote for, what to buy, how to live, what to put in our bodies with vaccines that don't work or that hurt us. And such like that, as we know, flew on to Epstein's islands, was on those flight logs a bunch of times. That may have been the reason why we've seen that his wife divorced him. And it's just, this is angering to me. So how bad do you think this looked for Bill Clinton and others who will be mentioned in these soon-to-be-released Epstein documents as early as possibly today? And do you think it's as bad as it looks in the news today? You can see that story from the New York Post on my Twitter feed. Like on the New York Post, is it as bad as it looks in this coverage where Clinton's getting this massage from one of Epstein's pedophile victims? I don't think it can look much worse. I've not seen that picture until today, and I'm like, holy crap. Our number, of course, is 866-90-RED-EYE, 866-907-3339. That's 866-90-RED-EYE. It's Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary, and, of course, they'll be back tomorrow on Red Eye Radio across America.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. It pays to have a tire maintenance routine, especially during the winter driving season. Between black ice and heavy snowfall, winter weather can impact your tires and your productivity in a number of ways. Here's a tire maintenance tip to help you avoid downtime and roll safely through winter. Check your tire pressure during every pre-trip inspection and make sure they're properly inflated according to the manufacturer's recommendations. Cold weather naturally causes tire pressure to decrease, and underinflated tires can wear faster and impact your fuel efficiency. Maintaining proper tire pressure is essential to maximizing the performance, safety, and lifespan of truck tires.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
866-90-RED-EYE. That's 866-907-3339. Chris Krok in for Gary and Eric. They will be back tomorrow on Red Eye Radio. Bill Clinton to be unmasked, the New York Post says today, as John Doe 36 and identified more than 50 times in the Epstein document dump today. There are going to be a total of 170 people that were formerly known as John and Jane Does with ties to Epstein that will be revealed in these documents, according to the New York Post, after a Manhattan federal judge ruled just for Christmas that they would be unsealed in the new year, which means they're probably going to be done today, actually, later on today. Because of the New Year's holiday, they expect them to be released today, January 2nd. Maybe all of them, maybe some of them, we don't know. And many of the accusers, many of the alleged victims are expected to be named, along with people who worked for Epstein over the years, were part of his inner circle, or allegedly participated in the crimes. Now, this young lady who has this picture has enraged me today. Like, holy crap! It's on my Twitter feed at Chris Krok Show. That's at Chris Krok Show. CHRISKROK. Follow me on Twitter at Chris Krok Show. You can see though that when you look at this article that I tweeted earlier, there it is, about 4 hours ago. If you click on it and you scroll down, which is what I'm doing right now, I am scrolling down as I clicked on it. You see Clinton shaking Epstein's hand in the White House, and Ghislaine Maxwell there smiling. There's another picture of Clinton leaning on Ghislaine Maxwell's shoulder at the airport, and on Epstein's private jet, the Lolita Express, which is basically in 2002, which is obviously the child sex trafficking, child rape express, truthfully. And then here's the picture I've been telling you about, and producer Brian wanted me to kind of elaborate a little bit more. Bill Clinton is given a shoulder massage by Epstein victim Shawnette Davies at a small airport in Portugal in 2002. So what that tells you is, and you can see it's like in a hangar or something. It's not in some private booth that you paid to get a massage by some person who works there. This is sitting there at the airport like you and I sit there with somebody, in this case, a victim of child sex trafficking, giving massage to Bill Clinton at the airport while he looks up presumably at a TV or something. I don't know what. But he's in a waiting area, public waiting area. I mean, this is crazy. So I don't care how old Bill Clinton is or how whatever he is. He's got some serious answers to this. Is disgusting. All right. So questions on this is, how bad do you think this looks for Bill Clinton and others who will be mentioned in these soon-to-be-released Epstein documents? And do you think it's as bad as it looks in the news coverage today, like the New York Post, where Clinton's getting a massage, Bill Clinton, from one of Epstein's pedophile victims? 866-90 Red Eye is our number, 866-907-3339. Tom in Boston, you are on Red Eye Radio. Hello, Tom, you there?
Yeah. I didn't know if you were talking to me. Yeah, I just want to know, were these girls kidnapped, or were they coerced to go on the island with promises of thousands of dollars? Because it sounds funny to me, like they got together and they said, we're going to blackmail these guys for big money. And then when that didn't work, they might have went to the press. I know they were young girls. I know these guys are creeps. But, I mean, I certainly, these girls weren't that young. They didn't have reason, and they knew what was going to happen.
Well, I'll tell you what, brother, we got to run, but I want to say this. I have a lot to say about that. We'll get to it coming up next, because a 17-year-old, 14-year-old, 15-year-old working them to get money.
Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios. Now for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, Chris Krok.
We will get into the border being way out of control for way long, coming up in a little bit. But right now on Red Eye Radio, want to get back into Bill Clinton being unmasked as early as today as John Doe number 36, more than 50 times mentioned in Epstein documents that were redacted, but now will be released. Judge ordered it right before Christmas, and it should be coming out as early as today, according to the New York Post. Now, look, some of these pictures you may have seen, I didn't see the one with him getting a massage from one of the sex traffic victims in 2022, right after his presidency. This is in Portugal, a small airport, and it's enraging to me to see a sex traffic victim massaging our former president. It's just so ridiculous. He's mentioned 50 times in these documents, according to the Post. And we don't have the flight logs, but that is the big one that'll be damning, is what I heard a former Justice Department official say that was in the Justice Department when Epstein either hanged himself or was killed, depending on your position on that. So those could come out in the near future. We don't know, but right now they're not. So our last caller, and then we're going to talk to Eric in Troy, New York, plus your call, of course, at 866-90 Red-Eye. That's 866-907-3339. How bad do you think this looks for Clinton and others who will be mentioned in the soon-to-be-released Epstein documents? And do you think it's as bad as it looks in this news coverage today, with people like Bill Clinton getting a massage from one of Epstein's pedophile victims right after he was the president? I mean, I can't think of it looking much more horrible than this. Unbelievable. But so on this story, though, our last caller, I wanted to respond to him before we finished up with the news, so I wanted to just tell you my reaction to our last caller, who was saying that, were these girls, saying, blackmailing these rich people by saying, if you don't tell us or whatever, pay us money, we're going to release these photographs. Look, if somebody's being sex trafficked at 14, 15, 16, 17 years of age, they're not going to blackmail a world leader as a victim of sex trafficking. I mean, I suppose they could, but that's really taking the victim and saying you're the bad guy here. You never know, but dude, it's a little late for blackmail. It's been 21 years. I highly doubt, as a victim of sex trafficking and child rape, that they were carrying around cameras unbeknownst to their sex traffickers. That's just a wild guess on my part, but what do I know? All right, let's go to Eric in Troy, New York. You are on Red Eye Radio. Hi, Eric.
Hello. I don't think there's going to be any negative implications. As a matter of fact, I think this is just a diversion from our real problems. Had there been the release of the videos, that might be another story. But from what I understand, they were already confiscated by the FBI, and we know what's going to happen, or may have already happened, to those videotapes.
Yes.
As far as the revelations in these documents go, for example, former President Clinton, he has a long history of this kind of behavior,
yes,
and it's never negatively impacted him in the past. And there's very little chance of any kind of repercussions. We're only looking at possibly three categories. One would be legal law enforcement criminal action. That's not going to happen or would happen. Two, civil lawsuits. And as you just pointed out, for any myriad of reasons, there aren't going to be any more civil actions except the one against Prince Andrew. And then the last category would be what could happen in the domestic lives of these people. Like, for example, you already pointed out with Mr. Gates, his wife already left him already. So those people that, that have already, those people that were implicated in this already have already faced as much negative implications as they're going to have.
Well, I don't know, because when you're talking about, you talk about Bill Clinton and his previous allegations, which are manyfold, as you and I know. None of them are with an underage girl who was the victim of sex trafficking at the time.
So we're saying that rape isn't equivalent to having some kind of illicit sexual affairs with underage. I mean, he's been accused of rape, multiple women, and there's been no consequences as a result.
I feel like I'm shopping around I feel like I'm shopping around a new thing to see. But wait, there's more. But I mean, this is a child sex trafficking victim versus a woman. That's even worse.
Let me ask you. I mean, because the FBI and other law enforcement agencies and district attorneys in different jurisdictions already know about this, and they haven't brought any charges. Are you positing tonight that there's going to be some kind of legal consequences?
No, I'm hearing you say, I'm responding to you, and you're saying there's already worse stuff than this or similar type stuff has come out. What I'm saying is the difference here is that it's children that are being trafficked for sex, and it's child rape, obviously, because they can't consent at 16, 15, 17 years old. So it is not the same as the other allegations. It is different.
But also you're looking at evidence that isn't direct evidence here. So because
but we're going to see what comes out in this. I don't think necessarily anything's coming out on this is going to be damning per se, other than showing more evidence about him and others' involvement. But the flight logs could tell a different story, and that's where people can get really in trouble for saying, "Well, I was there only a few times," and if you find him like 20 times or something, or God knows what, that's where it's going to be like.
You've already heard Mr. Gates has already put up a defense with regard to several exposés already that pointed out that he was flying on some of these flights with Epstein from somewhere in the East Coast to Seattle, and he said, "Oh, I was just getting a ride with my, back to my home." So all you have is logs. So you have circumstantial evidence without the videotape, so without witnesses to actually.
So what you're saying is it's not a big deal. So what you're saying then, I'm hearing you saying is none of this is a big deal. That flight logs and whatever comes out of this. So you're saying the people whose names will be released possibly as early as later today, that we may not have known about that were involved, not a big deal. They don't mind if their name gets released.
I'm not saying it's not a big deal to me and to people in the public. You asked, do we think that there's going to be any implications? It is a big deal. It's a serious problem, but there aren't.
No, I said, how bad does this look? I didn't ask implications. I said, how bad does this look for Bill Clinton and others who will be mentioned in these soon-to-be-released documents?
Well, it's not going to be bad for Bill Clinton at all. He'll survive. He's not running for president.
I didn't ask
again,
if he wouldn't survive. So I guess let me try to ask the question in a better way. Does Bill Clinton mind if these documents come out, you think?
I think he'd prefer they wouldn't come
I
out.
think so, too.
Sure.
Thanks for your call. Appreciate it very much, Eric. All right, coming up next, or actually, do we have time right now? I think we do. Let's get into this. The illegal invasion going on at our border is, we hit a new low, or if you want to say a new high, 300,000 illegals, actually 302,000 illegals, and they're not migrants. A migrant is somebody who you call – a migrant is when you call an illegal or I like to say criminal invader something that they're not to make them look like they have some kind of legitimate claim to being here. 93, 95, maybe 97% of them don't even qualify for any asylum. You'll hear a lot more about this, but basically we don't know who they are. We don't know if they're in a family or not, and by the time we figure out DNA stuff, it's about a year and a half from now, and we don't know where they're at and such. They're going to have their anchor babies, get married, and then say you're ripping apart families. So it is a simple criminal invasion, and Joe Biden is blessing it, and it's at 302,000 illegals in December, which is the highest record we've ever had for any month ever in the history of this country. I'm sure you're surprised at that. The previous record was in the high 200,000. I think it was around 260. Yeah, here we go. 269,000 illegals in September. I'm sure you're surprised that this past September we had the highest number ever, and then now we have the highest number ever. So the mayors of Chicago, Denver, and New York City came out over the holiday and had a press conference, if you will, virtually, and they released a hard copy to the media, saying that they're now going to do doctor's office hours for when these buses arrive from Texas and any other state or area with illegals. And they're saying, obviously, that you could only arrive with these buses between 8:30 a.m. and noon, Monday through Friday. It is literally about a 17-hour window in 7 days. That's it. And it's only at one location in each city you can drop off these illegals. So doctor's hours, 17 hours a week, that's it. Monday through Friday only, 2.5 hours a day. One location. If you do anything else, they're gonna impound the bus. They're gonna lock up the bus driver or ticket them, stuff like that. So Governor Abbott from Texas said, "Oh no worries. I'll work around that." And he does some great trickery that I like. We'll talk about that next because he had a big old plane of illegals show up outside of Chicago today. And that is something spectacular to behold. We'll talk about that next coming up on Red Eye Radio. It's Chris Krok, of course, in for Gary McNamara, Eric Harley. 866-90 Red Eye is our number, 866-907-3339.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
Across America, Red Eye Radio, Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary. Well, we have the worst criminal invasion of the history of our country. 302,000 illegals. That is, of course, criminal invaders in the month of December. And the previous record was 267,000 set just a few months before that in September of this past year. So this is getting worse, obviously. We all know it. We all see it. And the response from Governor Greg Abbott of Texas has been brilliant. You know, I have not considered him the top Republican governor in our country. I've considered Ron DeSantis that because with COVID, for example, he was the first one to say no masks, no vaccine mandates, all this stuff. Governor Greg Abbott followed by about 6 months. He was not as much of a leader as DeSantis is. DeSantis is the best governor in this country for a Republican right now, in my opinion. Abbott is definitely probably a second, but what he did with busing these illegals was never done before. That was his baby. I've not seen any other governor do it before he did, and it's the most brilliant, wonderful strategy in the world, and it'll always be used from this point forward with the illegal invasion. But now more than ever, I mean, it is insane what is happening to our country. And here's the thing. You are not going to know about the effects, and you're not going to feel the effects of this invasion for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. It'll be with people being killed from fentanyl. It'll be with people committing crimes upon us that were brought into this country during this Joe Biden free-for-all from 161 countries invading us. So every tactic that the governors can do to stop this, it must be used. And so Governor Abbott has been, as you know, he's bussed now a total of, in 2023, the total illegals that he bussed in to sanctuary cities was 85,000. And as much as that number is great, I think it could be a lot higher, and it should be a lot higher. Because the one thing that is working, but needs to be doubled, tripled, quadrupled, is sending these illegals to the sanctuary cities of Chicago, D.C., New York, et al., including Denver. But because those governors, or excuse me, I should say those mayors, particularly New York and Chicago, I mean, they have a direct line to the White House. And you notice they're still not attacking Joe Biden and this invasion. They're just saying they need more resources. Now, Mayor Adams has attacked Biden, or at least blamed him. But the socialist disaster Brandon Johnson from Chicago. I am amazed that the people of Chicago followed up Larry Lightfoot, one of the worst mayors in the country when she was the mayor. Followed up Larry Lightfoot with Brandon Johnson. It's unthinkable. But we're going to talk about coming up. We're going to talk about stuff about this with the busing and flying into these illegals. It's Chris Krok, Cross America, Red Eye Radio for Eric and Gary.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now it's Red Eye Radio with talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or just starting your day, welcome to the show from the Uniden America Studios. For Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, Chris Krok. This is Red Eye Radio.
Across America, it's Red Eye Radio. Chris Krok in for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley on Red Eye Radio. Well, we've been talking about several things. The redacted documents from the Epstein case are going to be released as early as today, and Bill Clinton's mentioned in them 50 times. I just saw something on the Twitter sphere about Ted Cruz releasing the full names as well, supposedly. And the one thing that can be extremely devastating to people like Bill Clinton and others are the flight logs. Those are not going to be released. However, listening to a former federal prosecutor who was in office at the time where Epstein, depending on your version of it, hanged himself or was killed, right? My favorite Christmas ornament has a picture of Jeffrey Epstein on it and says, "This ornament didn't hang itself." Yeah. Well, one listener on social media telling me that Epstein list will be nothing because it wouldn't get out otherwise. That's a very good hypothesis. And it's just really defeating and terrible to think that we can see stuff like Bill Clinton getting a massage from a 17-year-old who's being sex trafficked. One of the Epstein victims, sitting there giving him a massage at a Portuguese airport, I guess, while they were in transit or something. I don't know, but I saw the picture today in the New York Post. I'm like, oh my gosh. And it's on my Twitter feed, at Chris Krok Show. That's at Chris Krok Show if you'd like to see that, along with the New York Post story talking about this, that ABC News got it, and New York Post shared it on their feed, on their website today, that Clinton's named 50 times in the redacted documents that will be released as early as today. So we can talk about that if you want to call in and talk about that. If you think this looks pretty bad for Bill Clinton and others who'll be mentioned in these soon-to-be-released Epstein documents. And do you think it's as bad as it looks in some of these pictures with Clinton getting massages from pedophile victims and such? But I want to also get into the illegal invasion. 302,000 illegals in December, the highest month we've ever had in this country. And the previous highest month we'd ever seen is 267,000 illegals in September of 2023. So September, December, the highest levels ever in our country. First and second highest levels ever. It is getting worse, not better. And Joe Biden enjoys his vacation in St. Croix, phoning it in. And meanwhile, during the holidays, you may have caught this on Red Eye Radio and in the coverage of the news, but during the holidays, you had the mayors of Chicago, Denver, and New York release a press release together and did a little joint news conference virtually, saying that from this point forward, you only have one location to drop off the illegals. If you are, for example, Governor Abbott from Texas, you have only one location in the city of Chicago, New York, and Denver to drop off the illegals in your buses. And you can only drop off Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to noon. It's doctor's office. It's worse than doctor's offices, right? So you have only 2.5 hours. I'm sorry, 3.5 hours, weekdays only, to drop off the illegals at one location. If you do any other location or any other times, we will impound the bus or ticket the bus driver, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so Governor Abbott said, no problem. As I went home for the holidays to be with my family in Chicago with my wife and kids, we went back to Chicagoland, where radio affiliate WLS AM 890 is. And we're sitting at my parents' Chicago home when I was watching on the news that Governor Abbott dumped 175 illegals in a plane flight to Chicago, and I pumped my fist. I was so excited. But then he outdid himself today when I see that Governor Abbott flew in. Now that was to Chicago when he flew those ones in, but he flew in. Oh, hold on. He also bussed in previously, I think last week. He bussed in a busload of illegals and dropped them off 70 miles south of Chicago, where the city had debated adding a third airport, but ended up not doing it. Dropped them off at a I can't remember the city now. It's leaving me right now, but it's 7 miles south of Chicago, and they were going to put an airport there. And he dropped off a busload of illegals at this small town 70 miles outside of Chicago, which is brilliant. I love that. But then he outdid himself again by literally flying in 355 illegals on a plane load of illegals to Rockford, Illinois in the past 24 hours. So he is escalating, which is great. And I love this. And Rockford is just like where he dropped off the illegals at a bus stop south of Chicago, 70 miles outside. Rockford's about the same distance to the east of Chicago. So I'd like to describe it. If there's no traffic, you can drive straight with no interruptions, nobody on the roads. You can get there from Rockford downtown to Chicago in about an hour and a half. But with traffic, 2 to 2.5, maybe even 3 hours. So it is not a suburb. This is a strategy. Rockford, Illinois is its own Red Eye Radio affiliate town. It is its own media market. It is not in the Chicagoland area. It's not part of Chicagoland. As much as people might think it is not. There's a 20, 30 miles of just farmland in between the two. So what that means is Governor Abbott is ditching them in sneaky ways, which I like, so that he can not get stopped and the people driving or flying them won't get in trouble or anything like that. And then guess what Rockford did? They didn't hang on to the illegals. Rockford bussed the illegals into Chicago summarily, as did the town 70 miles south of Chicago that were bussed in, and they dropped them off at a road stop, a truck stop. Those were bussed into Chicago as well. So what they're doing there is they're saying, okay, you're going to impound or arrest or ticket bus drivers from Texas. No problem. We're going to dump them 70 miles outside of Chicago so that they can bring them in on a bus, and you're not going to impound an Illinois bus. You're not going to ticket an Illinois bus driver who lives in some small town, or small city outside of Chicago. You're not going to do that. You're trying to get us, if you are, not us, but the Texans, if you will. So, brilliant. Oh, Kankakee, that was the town. That's where they wanted to add a third airport in Chicago. Kankakee, Illinois. So I want to ask you this. Are you okay with Governor Abbott from Texas sneakily flying in the illegals on a plane to the towns that are, just outside of Chicago, small cities outside of Chicago, or busing them in and dumping them humanely at a truck stop 70 miles south of Chicago? Same thing they could do in New York. The same thing they could do in Denver if they can. It might be harder in Denver with the mountains. I don't know. But do you think governors like Governor Abbott should work with sanctuary cities on who's coming, how many, and when? Or should he refuse to do that since They don't get that opportunity with illegals. They don't get to tell them what time they're coming. They don't get to tell illegals, hey, you can only come during these 2.5 hours Monday through Friday, or we're going to arrest you. Joe Biden wouldn't have it. Texas wants its own, is passing laws to arrest illegals. They already have a law saying that you get arrested if you're there as a trespasser. They put you in jail. There was a story of one guy from the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, one of the many countries people don't even know exists, from Africa, that is an Islamic state, if you will, that is has radical Islamist elements in it. Most of the people coming here from Mauritania should not be allowed here. Well, he was arrested by Texas governor's folks and put in jail for 2, 3, 4 weeks, hated it, and then was released and removed from the state of Texas. I think whatever we can do, whatever our governors can do to stop this invasion is great. I think sneakily, yet humane, dumping off humanely at truck stops, flying them in sneakily to tertiary cities outside of the major ones that are sanctuary cities is brilliant. I love it. Are you okay with that? Are you okay with governors and other officials sneakily getting them in there, as long as it's humanely, to fill up these sanctuary cities with more and more and more illegals so that they raise almighty heck, they get bankrupt, buried, and they beg Biden, and they finally come out against Biden? Are you okay with that? Our number, of course, on Red Eye Radio is 866-90-RED-EYE, 866-907-3339. That's 866-907-3339, 866-90-RED-EYE. I am absolutely okay with it. And you can just say, well, they're doing this, whatever state they're from, in our name, the people of their state, and sneakily, unhandedly doing this. Is that a big deal to you? To me, it's not. I think it's great. Whatever can be done to bury these cities in illegals, because they, in the news, look horrible with their people eating them alive in their own, cities, attacking them and bankrupting them. I mean, the New York mayor, I think he said it, Adams said it's something like they're going to need $3 billion in this next year. I think it's great. They're cutting cops, everything. I don't think it's good, but I think it's great because it makes them finally be brought down to their knees and go after the White House. This is a tool that has never been used, and it's amazing. I love this. I want to also get into, oh my gosh, the unbelievable things that we're seeing in some of these sanctuary states or sanctuary cities outside of San Diego is really something else. Let's go to Anthony in Dover, Delaware. Anthony, you're on Red Eye Radio. Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary. Hi, Anthony.
Hey, Chris. Thank you for taking my call.
Welcome.
I just wanted to say I perfectly agree with what Governor Abbott is doing. And all Governor Abbott has to do is, when questioned, say, hey, I'm only following the precedent that was sent by Joe Biden when he was doing this his first year, sneaking planes into other cities and states. That's all he has to do.
Tell me about that. What did Joe Biden do? Oh, you mean when he's bringing the illegals in the cover of night? I'm sorry.
Right.
That's
yes. Cover of night.
Yes.
All he has to do is saying the president set the precedence about it. He did it in the cover of night. He was caught. They were coming in at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning into LaGuardia, JFK, and into other cities. So
and
all he
remember
has to
the buses?
do is say, I'm following the president.
Do you remember? Absolutely right. Do you remember the buses that they were doing in suburban New York, outside of New York City, suburban New York City? It was Orange County, New York.
Trying to sneak them in there, too. Yep.
That's right. They flew.
Orange County got mad. They said, don't you dare.
That's right. The Republican elections, or the Republican got official that's over the county. I think that what happened was they were actually, as I'm sure you recall, they flew them into a county airport or local airport, municipal airport, and then they were busing them, and then the video got out, interviews got out, and they looked bad because it was all obvious they were sneaking them in there. And that's when they had the state troopers come in, or the federal government come in and say, you can't come here, you can't come near her. They even removed local law enforcement from there. It is vile.
Yeah, and if you remember correctly,
Mm-hmm.
and you remember correctly, Jen Psaki was trying to say, what do you mean in the middle of the night? It was really early morning.
Yeah, it was at 3 a.m, 4 a.m, 2 a.m. when everybody's not there and it's dark. That's what it was, and you know it and I know it. Appreciate your call, Anthony. Thank you very much. Let's see. When we come back, I want to talk to Linda. She's in Albany, New York. I have been dying to hear from you if you're in a sanctuary city or sanctuary state. I'm going to guess Albany, New York is pretty dang Democrat liberal as well. I'm gonna guess they're also probably sanctuary city. I don't know. We're gonna find out what she thinks because about illegals being dumped in her state. And I wonder too, like, sitting in Chicago, I don't know how many people want these illegals dumped there, but I would think you would, because anything to stop this. We are beyond a destruction of our country. We're beyond that. We're in no man's land. We've been in no man's land for over 2 years since that first year. This is unthinkable. This is destroying our country in front of our very eyes. And I do like President Trump's plan that I've heard him lay out, that he will literally pull out all the stops to deport every one of these illegals that Joe Biden brought in. Get them out of here, get them out of here, and get them out of here, and get them the heck out of here. Get them out. Not one of them belongs here. None of them are entitled to be here. None of them have a right to be here. They are criminal invaders. All right, we have a couple lines open for you at 866-90 Red Eye. We'll talk to Linda in Albany out of the box, plus your call next. It's Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary on Red Eye Radio.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Most owner-operators leased to larger carriers are paid on a per-mile basis or a percentage of revenue per load. The per-mile basis is most prevalent among larger fleets, percentage at smaller. Pay per mile tends to dominate discussions about pay just because it's easier to measure, and pay per mile often is wrongly used as the deciding factor in leasing to a carrier. While pay per mile can be a vital factor, it's not a cure for every ill, nor does it mean a big settlement check is coming an owner-operator's way. Why? Because pay per mile always must be considered in balance with gross revenue as well as total costs. Gross revenue can include flat mileage pay that varies by length of haul, percentage revenue pay, and more. Most importantly, though, for every revenue dollar generated, only part of that dollar is profit. But for every extra dollar of cost saved, the entire dollar contributes to profit. Knowing and understanding your cost to operate is fundamental to understanding the true value of any pay package. Brought to you by Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
All right, the illegal invasion, busing them, everything, flying them in. Linda in Albany, New York, you are on Red Eye Radio. Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary. Hello.
Thank you.
There you are, Linda. Hello. Go ahead, please.
Thank you for taking my call, and thank you for being live tonight.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yes. Albany, one thing I don't like about there being a sanctuary city, the police cannot tell you if a crime or somebody's been killed, whether it was committed by an illegal or not, which is very frustrating.
Just disgusting.
Yes. And I have relatives living down there now. At a certain point, the nice community they're in. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. And their house was robbed. Their community was targeted. They happened to be up here in Albany to a wedding of a relative. And, but people should remember something. Texas is the state of the Alamo, which the people who fought and died in the Alamo said, don't forget the Alamo. I think it's fantastic what the governor is trying to do. And this needs to be taken care of and needs to be shut off. People need to come legally.
So wait a minute. I'm hearing Linda in Albany, New York, a sanctuary city, the capital of the state of New York. I'm hearing Linda say, yes, dump your illegals in my state in order to stop this invasion. Dump them. Keep dumping them. Is that correct?
No, I'm sorry. I didn't somehow misspoke the way I was bringing it out. No, all this border stuff needs to be cut off. It needs
of course,
to
but
stop
until
happening.
then, you're okay with Governor Abbott and other governors dumping the illegals there in your area to stop this, as a way to stop it?
Well, I'm just agreeing with his not having to.
Okay, I got to roll
down there.
I got to roll. Thank you, but I appreciate it. We're going to talk to Dave in Howell, Michigan, and Toby in Crown Point, Indiana next.
Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios. Now for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, Chris Krok.
Well, we are rocking, we are rolling, and I'm having a blast with you. My first Red Eye Radio fill-in of the new year. Eric and Gary back tomorrow from their vacation and such. Happy New Year to you. What a privilege and honor to be here with you again. It's Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary on Red Eye Radio across America. Phone lines open. 866-90-RED-EYE, 866-907-3339. Governor Abbott from Texas flying in illegals in the past 24 hours, 355 on one plane to Rockford, Illinois, where they can't. We got some folks who want to talk about this, which is going to be great. The illegals being flown in to Rockford, Illinois, and into driven down and dumped humanely, of course, in Kankakee, Illinois, in the far-flung southern part of. It's not in Chicago though; it's like just outside. They were going to put the third airport there for the city, but they ended up kiboshing that. And Rockford, of course, 9 miles west of Chicago. 9 miles east of Chicago is Michigan. So, the state of. I don't think the lake goes 90 miles wide there. Maybe 40, 30, 20. Anyway, are you okay with that? With the governor of the state of Texas flying in, sneakily busing in, and since the cities of Chicago, Denver, New York gave these doctor's hours, we have a new rule we've all agreed to. You only can dump the illegals off in a bus between 8:30 a.m. and noon, Monday through Friday, at one location in each city. Otherwise, we'll impound your bus or ticket the bus driver or arrest the bus, whatever. It's like, get out of here. So Governor Abbott says, no problem. I'll just dump them outside of the city. And what's happening is when he does that in Illinois is they're busing them, they're dropping them off, as I mentioned, or flying them in outside, in tertiary cities like Rockford, and Kankakee, Illinois, and then those towns, cities, etc., are busing them into Chicago. And the socialist mayor, Brandon Johnson of Chicago, is not going to arrest or impound the buses from Rockford, Illinois. They're just saying, these are your illegals, not ours. Bye-bye. You're a sanctuary city. We're not. Bye-bye. Brilliant. Freaking brilliant. Are you okay with the governor of Texas doing this? I mean, the illegals that show up on his border in his state, they don't have appointments. He can't arrest them. When he does, Joe Biden, who wants this massive illegal invasion, highest ever on record for December, 302,000 illegals. It's the size of the city of Pittsburgh in 1 month. Can't you see that your country is being taken over by 161 countries, including the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, which is a terrorist-friendly nation, Uzbekistan, another terrorist-friendly nation. This is not a Hispanic, Latin American invasion. This is a global, African, European, Chinese, Muslim, from these Muslim nations, such invasion. That's what this is. It's a wholesale invasion of the world. Are you okay with that? 866-90-RED-EYE is our number. 866-90, okay with dumping them, humanely, surreptitiously or whatever, kind of sneakily in these sanctuary city areas. as I am. 866-90-RED-EYE is our number. Let's go to, let's go to Toby in Crown Point, Indiana. You're on Red Eye Radio. Hi, Toby.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. You brought up and corrected the one thing I was going to tell you about the east of Chicago.
Yeah, east is the lake. If somebody tells you east side of Chicago, yeah, I meant west. Yeah.
Well, there's always misleading stuff. That's like there's an East Chicago, Indiana, which is actually southeast.
Right. And if somebody tells you the worst side of the city, if somebody tells you the worst side of the city of Chicago is the south side, they don't know what they're talking about. The west has always been just as bad as the south. There is no south side's worse. It's both west and south side. They're both long forgotten, long forsaken. Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the airport, that was another geographical thing. It's they wanted to put the airport north of Kankakee in the town of famous musical urinals, Peatone, Illinois.
Right, close enough though, and the point is they're dumping. Are you okay with the governor of Texas dumping these illegals, humanely, obviously, but dumping them off in truck stops and in airports of towns that are a couple hours outside of the city of Chicago, so that they can eventually bust them in themselves? You okay with that? It's kind of doing it sneakily but humanely.
It's not that. It's that it's proving a point with the Chicago sanctuary, and that to actually do something that would be economically cheaper would be to fly them down to where they came from. They're paying millions and millions of dollars in Chicago to try and house and feed just a few thousand that they have.
Yes.
And asking for more money, and it would be much cheaper just to put them on planes and fly them back to South America.
Yes, it would be. So, but this is the most brilliant strategy, isn't it? Because it hyper-focuses the illegals and dumps them in the cities that say they want them, that have a direct line to the White House.
Right. Well,
it's a brilliant strategy. So, are you okay with that, doing that, though?
Yeah.
And of course, and by the way, of course, you also know that the illegals are also, I apologize, but the illegals are also signing documents saying, yes, I want to go there. Yes, I'm cool, in their language.
Right. Yeah, they're not being coerced.
No, absolutely
they're
not.
Given a choice.
Right.
Just like they're not, they're infiltrating our country. The way they're doing it is not an invasion. We used to talk about that in the Army. We were instructed about you couldn't run a convoy through the middle of a base during certain hours, but if you staggered them and infiltrated where people didn't notice as many at one time.
This is an invasion because they want you to be noticing them, except for the terrorists and the narcos and the rapists and murderers. They don't want to be noticed, but this is an invasion because they want to be noticed because they want to be processed and then just let in as one of Joe's illegals. Appreciate your call, my man. Let's go to Joshua in Temple. Joshua, you are on Red Eye Radio. Hi, Joshua.
Hi, good to be talking to you.
Good to talk to you, brother.
So I wanted to comment on earlier, you were talking about how Abbott had been busing in illegals to Chicago and other cities.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I just wanted to note is on your use of the term illegals, the people that have been bussed in are people who have been processed at the border already.
Yeah,
and so because of that, they've been legally processed, though. My question for you is it still fair to call them illegal, although they've been through the process of law?
Yes, because 93 to 97% of them will never show up for their hearing because they know they won't qualify for asylum. They are illegals. They are criminal invaders. They are not entitled to come here. They should remain in Mexico, and almost all of them will be found. More than 9 out of 10 of them will be found to not have a legitimate claim to asylum because they don't claim it. They just show up here. Joe Biden wants them here. He wants these illegals to be part of our country and wants to give them amnesty and wants to do what he wants to do with the other 12 to 21 million who already have invaded us and come in here. He wants to make them legal so they will be good Democrat voters. But they are illegals. They're criminal invaders or illegal immigrants, but they're not migrants. A migrant is what you call somebody who's illegal to excuse them doing it, pretending like they're just here to work, and almost all of them are, as you know, and you can't come here to claim asylum when you're just here to work.
So I would disagree on one point in the term of calling them legal. Although, I'll accept a lot of those statistics that you said, just because at this point in the process they have gone through things illegally. But
don't accept them. Don't accept my facts.
I'm going to say
don't accept my facts.
No, I accept your facts.
No, don't. Look them up yourself. I always tell you to look them up yourself. No, don't listen to me.
Okay, I'll look them up. But for the sake of the argument, though, accepting them this concept, I still think it's unfair to call them illegals in the term that at this point in the process they have done things legally, and yet they're being called illegals out of a preemptive statistic that's generalized to the group.
No,
I don't think that's
generalized
fair.
To what group? Generalized to what group? People from 161
countries. The group of migrants, because
they're not migrants; they're illegals.
93 of them. Okay, but you just said that 93% of them won't show up to the court date. However, this is prior to the court date, and up until this point, they have followed the process legally.
Do you know how long? Do you know how long?
If I were to call any gun owner who had a gun a mass shooter, because there's a certain statistic of people becoming mass shooter illegal, I don't think that's the same. I don't think that's fair, because I'm doing something on a preemptive action that has not been committed yet.
Do you know what the majority of that's an interesting thing you brought up. Do you know what the majority of shooters who do mass shootings are armed with?
Probably pistols, handguns.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. You would not offend anybody, though, by calling them that. That would be okay, because it's not true. It's demonstrably false, tremendously. So it's not a big deal if you call them that. You're making yourself look like a fool by doing that. But when I say this, knowing that it's between 93 and 97% of every one of them will not be found, they know they're illegal. Joe Biden knows they're illegal, but they're allowed to come in because Joe Biden wants the illegals. That's an invasion of illegal immigrants, and Joe knows that. He just wants more illegals to come in here and be good Democrat voters. I really appreciate your call. I'm glad you challenged me. And I apologize for jumping in there a little bit too much sometimes. All right, we're going to talk to Nick in Chicago coming up next. Also Dave in Virginia, Gary in Chicago. This will be fantastic, because we got two people, Nick and Gary in Chicago. And it'll be interesting to see if they're okay with dumping the illegals there humanely, like Governor Greg Abbott's doing. I hope they agree with me, because I would think if you are against this illegal invasion, I would think that you would say, yes, sacrifice my city if it'll make this illegal invasion stop quicker, because it's destroying this nation. Every one of these illegals is going to get married to a American citizen. They're going to have as many pregnant women as they can with babies, impregnate a woman as quickly as they can so they can have an anchor baby. And then when you go to remove them, they're going to say, you're ripping families apart. No, you're an illegal who purposely had a kid out of wedlock, or in wedlock, out of wedlock, doesn't matter, so that you could have your anchor baby. All of them need to be removed from this country as soon as possible. None of them should be here in any capacity. They can apply from their country and get the heck out of ours. That's how I feel strongly about. Are you okay with Governor Greg Abbott in Texas humanely dumping as many illegals as he can, bus, plane, sneakily, if it'll help stem this invasion and stop it? I certainly am. All right, we'll talk to folks in Chicago and other places. Coming up next, Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary on Red Eye Radio.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
Let's go to Nick in Chicago. Nick, you're on Red Eye Radio. Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary. Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for taking my call. I was going to say that here in Chicago, a lot of people have been, in the last election, been getting, in their especially apartment buildings and big condo buildings, getting a lot of mail ballots, valid ballots, which if filled out and returned would be a valid vote. But the name doesn't match anybody there, so they're just laying around on the floor in the mail area. And I'm just saying that these people coming in all respect to people here in Chicago or around the world, wherever, that are suffering, and many of them probably are, but
we can't import that. We can't fix we can't heal their country's issues. We can't import the world.
I'm saying they're coming in. They're coming in now. The people coming in now are going to be like what the coronavirus was in the last election. There's going to be a lot of people mailed out ballots. They're going to be filled out by somebody, because a lot of them are coming back. There's more and more evidence that some areas have so many ballots returned that the amount of voters there, it's like 90%, 95% of people voting, and you never have an election.
Let me ask you two quick questions. We were limited on time. Two questions. Are you okay with Governor Abbott of Texas dumping illegals in Chicago to affect change to make the Democrats come to their knees and stop this invasion?
I have to say yes, only for the reason that Abbott down there in Texas is trying to protect the area that he swore to look after, which is his state of Texas and the people. I have to say, he's got to do something.
Got to roll.
If Chicago,
I got to roll.
New York City are bragging. Okay.
Thank you for your call. It's good to hear and confirm that. We'll talk to some other people if we have a chance. And I wanted to also say this real fast is with regards to this whole illegal invasion, I am totally good with sending them there. It was good to hear that. But I thought you were talking about coronavirus as in terms of this is going to do what coronavirus did to Trump and hurt his campaign with illegals. I guess you weren't saying that, but I thought you were, which I'd be like, yes, I would agree. Red Eye Radio, Chris Krok, Barrett, and Gary.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now it's Red Eye Radio with talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or just starting your day, welcome to the show from the Uniden America Studios. For Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, Chris Krok. This is Red Eye Radio.
Cross America, it's Red Eye Radio. Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary. They'll be back tomorrow night. Always a privilege to fill in. First time for the new year, and appreciate that very much. Saw you a couple weeks ago if you tuned in on that mid-December night or morning. Anyway, the Happy New Year to you, and the Governor Abbott of Texas is now sneakily flying into Rockford, Illinois, which is about an hour and a half outside of Chicago. It's its own metropolitan area, if you will, or small-sized city. He's also busing them in to Kankakee, Illinois, which is about 70 miles south of Chicago, and humanely dumping them. I'm saying it not to attack him. I support what he's doing. I think it's great. But like humanely dumping them off at a bus stop in Kankakee, Illinois, humanely flying them in, and it was 355 illegals on one plane to Rockford, Illinois. I mean, I was overjoyed. I flew in, as I do every year, to Chicago to see my parents and my relatives who I love dearly, and I was sitting in a kitchen, dining area of my parents' place in Chicagoland, and I saw around Christmas that Governor Abbott flew them in. And it was the best thing I ever saw in my life. Like, what a great Christmas gift. Ha ha! And so the mayors of Denver, New York, and Chicago announced jointly in a we call it online. They did a press conference, virtual press conference, and they also released a statement saying from now on, if you're going to bus in illegals to our cities, you have to do it between 8:30 a.m. and noon, Monday through Friday, at one location. If you do anything else, we're going to impound the bus or arrest the driver or whatever, or ticket them. And so Governor Abbott's like, no problem. And just starts dumping them humanely off in tertiary or outlying towns that are not in the Chicago or suburb area, just outside of the suburbs. And I think it's brilliant. And I was doubly happy to see that he flew in 355 illegals in the past 24 hours. Like, that is so awesome. One plane, 355 illegals. That was a whopper. He needs to do 2 of those a day, 3 of those a day. Buses, dude, there should be 5 buses arriving every day. Dump them, dump them, dump them, dump them. And every one of these illegals signs a thing saying, yes, I want to go there. We had a caller in the past hour that said, oh, they're not illegals and they're here coming in legally. No, they're illegals. About 93 to 97% of them are never show up for their court case, and they don't qualify for asylum. They know it. But Joe Biden says, stamp, come in. Stamp, come in. Stamp, come in. It's just a disgusting invasion from the world. We are laying down and letting illegals from 161, 170 countries just feast on us like vampires. We're laying down, letting vampires just take over and feast on our bodies, is what Joe Biden's allowing. And you know what? I was talking to producer Brian at Red Eye tonight, and he thinks, as others do, that this really could be the Achilles heel for Joe Biden that gets him out of office. And our last caller in the last break, I thought he was talking about when he said this is like COVID. I thought he meant this is what, because Trump was going to sail to re-election except for COVID, and then of course they rigged everything with the news, social media, laws about voting and such. And God knows what we'll see this year. We're already seeing insane, ridiculous things that we'll get into a little later on Red Eye tonight or this morning. But I thought he meant that the illegal invasion was like COVID was for Trump. It hurt him. I was listening to some more folks on Fox News today, or watched them, and I think, you never really know. But when I hear that this is, worse than people think it's going to be for Joe Biden, I think you're right. The minority folks, Black, Hispanic, and such, are rabidly against this invasion, this wholesale, full-fledged invasion, and they're being destroyed like you and I are when we go grocery shopping, at the gas pumps. This is vile what this president has done to us for 3 years. And he's destroying our country with this invasion and with his fecklessness on the world stage, with all the wars happening under him, which we'll also get into in a little bit with Iran and such. Let's go to your call, though, at 866-90-RED-EYE, 866-907-3339. Let's see here. Let's go to... we have one more in Chicago I want to talk to. Gary in Chicago. You are on Red Eye Radio. Hello, Gary.
Oh, hello. Could you hear me now?
I think so. Mm-hmm.
Okay. My name is Gary, and real briefly, I agree what the governor of Texas is doing is what he has to do, because we don't expect him to take care of 10,000 illegals or people coming in each day. Mm-hmm. I understand what he has to do. But mainly, aside from that point, agreeing that he has to let him go and, to the city, he can't handle them 10,000 a day. Come on. Mm-hmm.
And you okay with him? And you okay with him humanely dumping these illegals in Kankakee, Illinois, Rockford, Illinois? You're okay with that? And they're getting busted. Yes, What's really cool is they're getting busted from those areas into your city. You're okay with that if it stops the invasion by dumping so many into your city, in New York and others, that it eventually stops it?
With that. I'm okay with that, because there's no other choice. You cannot handle it on the border. Right. I'm okay with it.
Okay.
I was here in Illinois, here in Chicago. But that being said, it's creating a dangerous situation for the whole country, because a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them are like criminals. And
yes,
I've seen it. I've seen it on with my own eyes, just as recently as like a few minutes ago, because I'm working DoorDash. Guy was asking if I spoke English. I says Spanish. I go, yes, and I speak Spanish. He was from a different country, not Mexico, because I could recognize the accent. It's like from a South American country, not Mexican. He said, ask the lady there at Dunkin' Donuts, because I was making a pickup for delivery, if she has any free food. So I said, I'll translate. I told the girl, I'm just translating. He wants to know if you have any free food. She said, no, it's too early right now for that. I go, okay. She said, it's too early. So after I paid for my hot chocolate, I gave her a few cents tip, and I gave him whatever was in my pocket, maybe $1.50, $2 and change. That's all I had in my pocket. I'm totally broke now. And he looked kind of grubby. I would look grubby too if I was like living on the street. But he's not from the United States, because he doesn't speak English. he's a migrant. 99% sure.
No. He's an illegal. He's an illegal. He's an
illegal alien. Yeah.
He's not a migrant. Migrants are somebody who comes in and works and then goes back to their country seasonally, legally. Yeah.
He's an illegal guy, and most likely can't blame them, but they're going to start committing crimes because they're going to want to start to survive.
You know what the best thing I've ever seen in the news, besides what we're talking about right now with the humane dumping of illegals in your city and in New York and in Denver and other ones, is them begging door to door in New York City. I love it. They're begging door to door, so they're literally coming to your doorstep.
Yeah,
hello,
exactly. I'm in the
food, hello, hungry, yes, so hungry. Guess what else? Guess what else? In San Antonio, I read a story. They're literally begging for food in the neighborhood they're at the illegal resource center for illegals. They're cold. They're freezing. They're asking for blankets. People in the area. It's horrible to see people suffer, but it's great because they're coming to the door. Hello. San Antonio is a sold-out leftist town with a woke Soros DA. Hello. I'm hungry. I'm starving. My child cold. Freezing. No. You guys vote for this crap. You get them. They're literally lobbying for Donald Trump and for us, at least for me as a Republican voter. They're literally lobbying for us. They're going door to door. You can't pay people enough to do this effective lobbying, to go to your house and beg for your money and go. I saw it in New York City, too. I was like, yes! It's from Joe Biden's heart to your doorstep. Here they are. And you better feed them because they're starving, and they will, as our last caller just said, they will commit crimes if they have to because they're starving and freezing. And that'll be next. Come into your neighborhood. The illegals, by the way, in these communities, in Chicagoland and in San Antonio, in New York, all these places where they congregate at these hotels where they're staying, are having prostitution. Specifically, I remember from one of the stories in Chicagoland, same things happen in New York. Prostitution, drugs, stolen cars, parking violations in your area. Welcome, Joe Biden. Joe Biden. Yes, President Biden, you owe me. I am a migrant, one of them said on Fox News. No, you're an illegal who paid, $3 to 10 grand to get here. So you paid for this. You spent your money. You're owed this. You're owed this. Yes, be angry at Joe. He said you can come here. Yes, come knock on our doors, please. All right, let's go now to Cher in Illinois. Cher, do you believe in life after love or whatever she's saying? How are you? It's the Cher. It is the Cher.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
No. It's just the one in Illinois.
Okay.
I wish Greg Abbott was our governor here. I really do. But what I wanted to say was, they definitely are illegals, whether they're being processed at the border or not, because Joe Biden is breaking the law that Congress passed, which outlines how legal people can enter the country. Joe Biden is breaking the law by processing these people. So they are illegals.
Do you know the FBI has a 15? Do you know the FBI?
I disagree with that guy who said they're not illegal.
Of course.
They are.
Right. He wants this invasion, apparently. Listen to this. Do you know the FBI backlog, according to a Freedom of Information request on emails about this, Christopher Wray and the FBI and Homeland Security in their internal emails that were released by the Daily Caller Foundation's investigation say that the illegals are held for only 72 hours. They do DNA to see if it's the same family or they're lying, which almost all of them are lying. And do you know that now there's a backlog because of Joe Biden's unmitigated world invasion, that it's 15 months before they find out? Do you think they know where any of these illegals are 15 months later if that kid's being smuggled in for sex trafficking and being raped? They don't know where they're at.
Of course not. They're rape trees, and there's polio in the sanitation somewhere in New England. I can't remember where.
This is a third world
diseases into the country, and we don't know who is. Not to mention the ones who don't get processed. I mean, they're just slipping through.
Yes. Let me tell you something. Appreciate your call. Let me tell you something else. In Boston, I've left out Boston, sanctuary city, sanctuary state. With the Army-Navy game that happened recently, one travel agent alone in that area in Boston literally said that 60 of his people that he was arranging travel for, 60 of them had their reservations canceled because all the hotels around where the Army-Navy game goes, where people like you and I go to see games or concerts, were taken over by illegals. All those hotels taken over by illegals. And by the way, in suburban Chicago, in Rosemont, Illinois, where O'Hare, a lot of the hotels are for O'Hare International Airport, and also in Schaumburg, Illinois, they have passed a law. Both of them have. I saw this in the National News on Fox News like a month or so ago. I was so happy to see this too. They have passed ordinances that say if anybody is living in these hotels, if anybody stays in a hotel for a month, for 30 days, they are taxed $1,000 a month on top of whatever the fees, whatever the cost is to stay in that room. So on top of the money you have to pay to stay there, the regular city taxes and county taxes and state taxes, whatever it is, on top of that, you get levied $1,000 tax by that suburb of Rosemont and Schaumburg, Illinois, if you stay there. And what's exempt are people like you and me who have a house fire and we're staying at that hotel for 6 months and our insurance is paying for it or whatever. That stuff is exempt, or emergency or whatever. But these illegals, when the city of Chicago and the wealthy leftist America-hating, Illinois-hating Governor Pritzker of Illinois, when he tries to dump those illegals in suburbs, the wise ones are passing this $1,000 tax, and then they ain't going to stay there anymore because nobody's going to pay $1,000 on top of whatever they negotiate with. Ain't going to happen. All right, well, we're going to get into, coming up next, we're going to talk to, we got somebody in San Antonio. I mentioned San Antonio. That'll be good. We got folks in New York State. We got folks in New Jersey, Kentucky, Virginia, in Texas, Rowlett, Texas. All y'all coming up next. Stand by. Throwing a little Texas accent over there. All y'all. Mm-hmm. Next, it's Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary on Red Eye Radio. 866-90 Red Eye is the number.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio. Toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
All right, y'all, you are packed and jammed. Let's go right to you. Chris Crockett for Eric and Gary on Red Eye Radio. Let's go to David in Virginia. You're on Red Eye Radio. Hi, David.
How are you doing, sir?
Good, sir. How are you?
Good. I've got a little question here, and I really don't know the answer to it. And I've listened to you for years now, and I respect your commentary. My question is, as an immigrant to the United States of America, locally, state, and federally, before becoming a citizen of the United States of America, do the citizens, before becoming a citizen of the United States, have the right to vote? Or is it a privilege?
Are they? You're saying prior to being a citizen?
Prior to being, a citizen of the United States.
Do they have? Well, you don't have a. I don't know.
The Constitution of the United States, because I respect your opinion, because I don't know.
All right. So you're asking me. You're asking me a legal question or a moral question? I'm not sure what you're trying to do here. Where you going with this?
Legal under the Constitution.
Well, I mean, here's what. Listen. All I know is this. Apparently, some cities can have local municipal elections with illegals voting in them, and they want that, like New York City. Okay. And apparently, that's legal. I'm sure if somebody could challenge it and strike it down in a court, they would, and I would hope they would, but I don't think they can. I think that's because it's a municipal or city election. You know what I'm saying? So as far as nationally for a federal election, I don't think they can legally vote. And depending on what state you're in, I don't know. There's 50 states with 50 different laws. All I know is this: in some of the states I've been in, it depends on what state you're in. I would just say, are you in a leftist state? Then you can probably get as much as you can without doing it illegally, voting. Municipally and
but don't mean to interject, but before becoming a citizen of the United States of America, how is it legal?
Listen, all I know is what I've seen, and I've seen municipal elections where they do. I'm beyond strongly against it. But in these leftist dens, I got to tell you, these leftist towns, in California, I'm sure you saw this. It's insane. In California, they had some A clown Democrat. I heard on the news on Fox today or yesterday say, well, when you go to he voted, he proposed a law that I think they're trying to push through. Or they already did, and hopefully somebody will challenge it and win. Where you can't carry your weapon even if you're lawfully carrying with a concealed carry permit in the state of California to the grocery store, to public places. And he's like, when you go to the grocery store or the mall, you should bring a bag for shopping, not a gun. Okay, I got to roll, David, but I appreciate your call. Here's my response to that. He says you should bring a credit card or a gun. Dude, if somebody's shooting at you, you will want a gun. All right, one line open, Red Eye Radio. We'll take your call next about this illegal invasion. Next.
Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios. Now for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, Chris Krok.
866-90 Red Eye is our number. The illegal invasion is on. The highest number ever recorded in history of this country ever. 302,000 illegals in December, breaking the September 2023 record from Joe Biden of 267,000 illegals. And behold, Democrat Chicago Alderman Byron Sichko, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Lopez, is outraged at the illegals that are sent to him from Governor Abbott in Texas.
We've seen the conditions worsening because of the tactics that continue to be worsening. Now we see Governor Abbott even sending people by plane, which is putting really our communities not only at risk, but it is really putting our whole communities at the brink of collapse.
Okay, Governor Abbott sent 85,000 illegals to sanctuary cities in 1 year, 2023. And Governor Abbott in Texas receives probably, 40 to 60% of the illegals invading this country? Millions probably per year? He doesn't get to pick when they come, how they come. And this clown, who clearly is one of these sanctuary city people, well, we are a sanctuary city, but we don't want to have the illegals come here in these numbers. We can't handle it. Are you freaking kidding me? Well, then what do you tell Eagle Pass, Texas, with a population of 25,000 roughly from the last time I believe I heard or saw on the news, getting the size of its city coming in every couple weeks? Are you literally that stupid? So you know what I want to say? Governor Abbott in Texas, bury them in more illegals. Dude, I'm so happy you sent 355 illegals in one jet to Rockford, Illinois airport, which is about an hour and a half west of the city of Chicago. I'm grateful that you sent a busload of illegals to Kankakee, Illinois, which is 70 miles south of Chicago. Because they are Kankakee, Illinois area there, and Rockford, Illinois, they bust those illegals right in. And Governor, what's his name? The mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, the Marxist socialist, who's worse than Larry Lightfoot. He's not going to impound ticket or whatever, illegals coming in on a bus from towns outside of Chicago. So, boom. What do you think? You like this? You like this tactic? You think it's okay to keep dumping these illegals humanely on these sanctuary cities? I think it's the best thing that's ever happened, and it's never going to stop. And as long as this invasion continues, and it must be doubled and tripled. 85,000 should be done in 3 months. Bury them in illegals. Please, Governor Abbott, bury them. All right, let's go to your call at 866-90 Red Eye. Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary. They'll be back tomorrow on Red Eye Radio. Always a privilege filling in for you. Let's go to San Antonio, as I mentioned, where illegals at the Illegal Resource Center there, at least one of them, are begging. They're begging for blankets, for food, for money, and there's nothing better than illegal knocking on your door, especially if you're a Democrat in San Antonio, a Democrat leftist stronghold, or in New York City or Chicago, knocking on doors begging for money. It's the best. You couldn't pay somebody to lobby for you more than that when an illegal knocks on your door begging for money or food, and you voted for the guy that is making this happen. It's beautiful. I mean, I can't. It's like these Soros. The George Soros DA in San Antonio was given, I think, about $1 million to run for re-election and win. And it's like foot soldiers for the leftists, but this time for the Republicans, knocking on your door saying, hey, you might want to vote for the Republican because I'm here to beg for money. Stephanie in San Antonio, you're on Red Eye Radio. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Can you hear me?
I think so.
Good. Thank you. Okay. I heard you when you were taking over Jack's show, but Jack
Riccardi, which is on your station there in San Antonio. That's right.
Correct.
Yes, KTSA. Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. Well, anyway, I have a little bit different take. I mean, believe me, they're everywhere. It's horrible here. But
they're even hiding in the bushes. They're hiding in the bushes. They're going to jump out at you.
They are.
I know.
It's not a lie.
Okay, go ahead.
I have experienced it. Okay, we started in September of 2016 when Obama was about to, be leaving office.
Yes, former President Hussein Obama. Yes, go ahead.
Right. They joined the Declaration of New York. They put us in that. Okay, that's number one.
Who's they put us in that? Who's the us and who's they?
The UN and the United States.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Hmm? Which in 2018 they were going to make the compact of migration. Trump said, no, we're not going to join the compact of migration.
Right.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And then when Biden came into office, he joined it again, it looked like, because all these people. Okay, then he went to the Los Angeles Declaration on Migration and Protection, and that was in June of 22. And then when he came here to Texas finally after all the screaming just to watch the dogs sniff the trunk and whatever, and then he went over to the center in El Paso after they cleaned up the streets.
Oh,
he flew to Mexico. Okay, he flew to Mexico, and he joined Canada and Mexico and signed the DNA, Declaration of North America. And that was in January of 2023. And then in March of 2023, he went to Canada. All they did was complain that Trudeau's son wasn't wearing shoes, just socks. But they went for the Safe Third Country Agreement, where if these illegals crossed into their country and they didn't meet asylum, they could send them back to the U.S. So are all these agreements supposed to be just what the UN wants, or is it what Congress approved? Should they be treaties?
Joe Biden just wants to please the global stuff and wants to go in a direction like that. He and the folks that are in his party. It's very sad because look what happens when you are in Europe and you sign on to what is it? I can't remember now. What's the government there that they signed on to for the whole continent, if you will, with euros. What's that?
The BRICS and all that.
Yeah. Well, not BRICS, but when Britain did Brexit, to get out of the EU, the European Union. That is a freaking disaster that is ruining Europe and each country. And that's the kind of crap that Joe Biden and his ilk want us in. It's all surrendering our autonomy and our individualism and our freedom, being the best country in the world, to the world. And that's what you see with the 161, 170 countries invading us. Just have your way with us, yeah.
Right, but every time somebody says we want safe, orderly, and regular migration, they're quoting from the Compact of Migration, which here we have Henry Cuellar. Now he kind of stopped saying that. But who is it, KJP, same thing.
Corinne Jean-Pierre, yeah. Yeah, the answer is
every
no.
time they say this, but they're all quoting from these documents. So what are these documents?
I don't know.
I'm asking.
All I know is I don't want any of this going on in my country. And all I know is I'm going to vote against anybody who wants this garbage for us. And I will vote for anybody who will get this garbage done and remove all these illegals and deport them ASAP, unquestionably. Get them out of here, deport them, and say, if you want to come here legally for the rest of your life, what you will do is you'll go back to your country and not come back unless you win your asylum case. And if you don't ever come back here again. That's what needs to happen. That's what needs to happen, unequivocally. Let's see here. Let's talk to Thomas in Rowlett, Texas. You're on Red Eye Radio, listening on WBAP in Dallas-Fort Worth. Yes, Thomas.
Well, I just want to call and tell you that I love to see Greg Abbott sending people to these sanctuary cities and having the leadership of those sanctuary cities change their tune. I would love for him to keep doing it even after they change the tune, too.
Agreed.
I loved it when the Florida governor did it. I love it when he does it. And I want to thank you for sticking up for me with my mask staying at my bar in Rowlett.
Oh, okay. You're the guy out in Rowlett who was. Oh, good. All right, I'm going to put you on hold and have our Red Eye Radio folks swap information so I can stay in touch with you, brother. Okay? Yeah, he was one of the people that stood up. He stood up against these woke activists going in trying to shut his bar down. It was in the news. That was a great picture of standing up for yourself, and it was wonderful. Okay, let's see here. Let's talk to Mary Ellen in Chicago. You're on Red Eye Radio. Hi, Mary Ellen.
Oh, hi, Chris.
Hi.
Well, I'll tell you, as far as I'm concerned, Biden's a disaster, and this illegal invasion to me is a slap in the face to those who came to our country legally.
Yes.
Now, with that said, I love what Abbott has done. I'm in a sanctuary city. I never liked it. None of my friends liked it. I mean, it was started up with the Muslims coming through. And all those, somebody talked about earlier, the planes, Mm-hmm. And I mean, it was kind of quiet and under the radar. But when Biden took over, this thing here in Chicago, I mean, different, and particularly in the African-American community on the west side and
they're
the
being
south
dumped
side.
there. They're being dumped there.
Yes.
When we come back from the next pause in the show, a little bit later this hour, coming up in a few, I'll play some audio from them unleashing on him. So you are in Chicago and you're okay with Governor Abbott dumping the illegals there to effect change to stop this whole invasion? Yes.
Well, first of all, I'm on the northwest side. And, I mean, we're seeing it all over the place. I mean, the crime has gone up and people are complaining all over the place. But this Johnson guy, what he did to me really fried me when a couple of the aldermen, for those who were those groups that I was telling you about where they were protesting, they presented to the city council like a plan to have put on the ballot a referendum that we could choose to be a sanctuary city or not. It was squashed. Johnson squashed it.
Of course. He does not want you to say anything. He doesn't want you to say you don't want to be because you're not going to say you want it. Most of the city will say they won't want it. You're exactly right. He does not want you having your say. There is a massive, ignorant, really ignorant populace that voted this man into office in Chicago, and they're getting their butts handed to them. I cannot believe the fools who voted for somebody that is worse than Larry Lightfoot. Unbelievable. From somebody afar, it looks like you fools get what you want. But there's a lot of people in the city of Chicago who don't want that. Well, now you're getting your butt handed to you by those who did vote, and they're the ones who are rabidly the most against all this crap. So we're going to play a little sound from Chicago and people raging against their mayor. Also, I'll tell you about what's going on for example, in the city of Chicago in the police stations. People do not realize how bad it is with the illegals there. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. All that's coming up next. We got two lines open. 866-90 Red Eye is our number. 866-907-3339. It's Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary. They'll be back tomorrow on Red Eye Radio.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
We have a hard no for immigrants coming here. A very hard no.
We come in a community of black people where we already get the low scraps. And then you want to take the little scraps, the resources that we have, and put us at the bottom of the barrel? That's not fair, and I won't have it.
Talia in Jacksonville, Florida. You're on Red Eye Radio. Hi, Talia. Talia.
Hi, how are you?
Talia, forgive me. Go ahead.
Yes. So basically, I wanted to speak on the illegal invasion, but I want to say that it's broader. I feel like it's more of a illegalities invasion across the board. Them changing the laws for voting at the last minute, them letting illegals in the country where that's not the law, them allowing sanctuary cities to exist. There's no such thing. That's also federal law. Everything with Biden, his son, the deals with China, cutting off our pipeline, even him saying how he threatened the Ukrainian government and tried to keep federal aid away from them if they didn't fire the prosecutor that was prosecuting his son. Across the board, I don't understand why he hasn't been impeached. I'm a Republican registered, and I don't understand why we aren't doing more, why we haven't taken all of this stuff to the Supreme Court.
I think the idea that there is a uniparty that wants this illegal invasion overall is probably part of that whole thing, honestly. It's Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary on Red Eye Radio. They'll be back tomorrow.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now it's Red Eye Radio with talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or just starting your day, welcome to the show from the Uniden America Studios. For Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, Chris Krok. This is Red Eye Radio.
Across America, Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary. They'll be back tomorrow on Red Eye Radio. Couple lines open, 866-90 Red Eye. That's 1-866-907-3339, 866-90 Red Eye. The invasion, full-scale invasion from illegals all over the world, 171, 161 countries, depending on who's counting. And Governor Greg Abbott is getting very creative now that the mayors of New York, Denver, and Chicago said, well, you can only drop off your buses of illegals here between 8:30 and noon, Monday through Friday, and only at this one location in each city. If you do anything else, we're going to impound the bus or arrest or ticket the bus driver, etc. And so Governor Abbott says, no problem. Doesn't respond, but he just says, no problem. By sending, first he sent like 175 illegals, I believe, to O'Hare. Then he said he's really messing with, I love this, Brandon Johnson and Pritzker, the governor of Illinois. And then he sends a busload of illegals and humanely dumps them off, and I say that in a good way, not in a bad way, dumps them off humanely in Kankakee, Illinois, 70 miles south of Chicago. And then in the past 24 hours, he flew in illegals, 355, a whopper, in Rockford, Illinois, which is about an hour and a half to 2 hours or so west of the city of Chicago. So he's doing these tertiary or surrounding areas that not even in the exurbs, but in a town just outside of the exurbs of Chicago. So it's a separate community. And then they're busing them in. What's brilliant is that the illegals are being bused into Chicago by Rockville, Illinois, Kankakee, Illinois, those type of officials. And he's not going to impound the buses from an hour outside of Chicago. It's brilliant. It's awesome. I love it. Meantime, so I wanted to ask you about that. Are you okay with Governor Abbott doing this? I think it's great. I think it's brilliant. I think it's good. Even people tonight calling in from Chicago are saying no problem. Even in New York, in Albany, in upstate New York, which is a sanctuary city too, and a sanctuary state, one of our listeners said yes. Meantime, Mayor, Marxist or Socialist Mayor Brandon Johnson in Chicago says Governor Abbott's causing chaos. What do you mean? Governor Abbott only sent out 85,000 illegals in 2023. Meantime, we just got the news today that 302,000 illegals in the month of December alone into our country. The biggest record, the highest amount of illegals ever in this history of our country. And then in September of 2023, it was the former highest ever, 267,000. We've never had this number of 302,000. It's insane what Joe Biden's doing to our country. He's just destroying it in real time. We're watching it. One of the points that was made by a listener on social media was by this invasion, Joe Biden is grinding us down. And let me see what one of their listeners said. He's devaluing citizenship. Every illegal that comes here grinds down the uniqueness and value of what U.S. citizenship and all of its protections and rights that come and flow from it, while simultaneously the Uniparty, Republicans and Democrats, are pushing the nebulous idea of global citizens and how illegals are somehow granted the same rights as citizens. So I think that's a great point too. Like this whole grinding down the meaning of what it's like to be a citizen and being proud of our country, having the best country in the world, is being destroyed in front of our eyes. We're seeing so many horrific things. The unelected, appointed, non-lawyer Twit, who is the Secretary of State of Maine, saying, I interpret this, the Trump being on the ballot, he's an insurrectionist, and I took him off the ballot. And he's like, but I'll wait for the Supreme Court to chime in. She was the head of the ACLU for the state of Maine. You know what I mean? She was she ran for senator, United States Senator, Maine, Democrat against Susan Collins. It's like she's not an elected official. She's not even a lawyer. She's interpreting the 14th Amendment in Section 3, which does not apply at all. But that's okay. Because Orange Man bad. We'll get to that a little later. But right now, let's focus on the illegal invasion. And this is funny, too. I wanted to add this. San Diego, it's funny. It's not funny if you're these people, but it's funny because it's like, look at this invasion. San Diego area residents say the illegals are camping. The illegal migrants, the criminal invaders, are camping in yards, piling trash nightly. This is ridiculous. One guy who lives on a 78-acre property on the southern border of San Diego and Mexico, about 75 miles east of San Diego, I should say, told fake news CNN that huge crowds of illegal migrants, criminal invaders, troop across his land daily. Another couple in Hot Springs, California, they've lived there for 40 years, tells CNN that the illegals are coming from Mexico, have been using their 17-acre property as a makeshift campsite, leaving behind tents, bits of clothing, and mounds of trash. The man who owns this property is a former legal immigrant from Yugoslavia, the former country of Yugoslavia, said the newcomers had cut down all of his trees, dismantled his fence, and used it as firewood to keep warm at night. More of this, please. Go to these sanctuary states and cities and destroy them, which was what they've done to our border areas and border states that do not want these illegals. I say more of this, please. How about you? Let's go to, let's see here, our number 866-90-RED-EYE, of course. Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary. They'll be back tomorrow. Let's go to Jay in New York State. You're on Red Eye Radio. Hi, Jay.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. I was just calling to make a point about the caller that classified them as immigrants instead of illegals.
Yeah, he called in and he said, they're being processed. They're here legally. No, they're illegals. Go ahead, Jay. Yes.
Yeah, well, they followed the legal procedure that's set by Congress. Congress never fixes the issue, but they're criminals or illegals because they're not going to show up to the hearing on their asylum claim.
And they don't qualify for asylum, almost all of them. The other thing is, I don't blame this on Congress. I blame this on Joe Biden. He literally, the day he took office, he stopped doing the Trump policies, which were legal, set by Congress. He chooses not to do what Trump did, which was legal under our laws, and say remain in Mexico, Title 42, all these different things you can do that are tools. He doesn't use the tools. Those were given by Congress. He's not using them. That's why this invasion is happening. That's why we have record month after month. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, he was able to use that during the pandemic, but illegal immigration has gone on for decades.
No. But these numbers are because Trump's policies are not being used anymore because Joe Biden wants this invasion. You don't have to have this invasion. This invasion is because he's not using tools that Congress put in the laws we have already. We don't need, it's not broken Congress stuff, this nebulous, Congress broken. No. It's choosing to enforce laws on the books that Congress passed and just choosing not to use the policies Trump used. They work. So it's a choice. Joe Biden chooses to have this invasion. It's a choice. Go ahead, sir.
Illegal immigration took place under Trump too. It's
no. The number that just came in for December is 302,000. That's never been in our country. Has ever gotten anywhere near that. 267,000 in December. So a history of the country record for our country. 267,000 in September. A new record in December. 302,000. This is Joe Biden's decision.
Yeah, I definitely understand, and that's an issue. And busing them into the city, into New York, it was a great move because it showed the hypocrisy that we don't have the infrastructure to handle the people. But at the same time, to me, it's a Congress issue. They have to do something to fix the asylum process, not these people coming in legally.
Did we have these numbers during Trump's administration, 267,000, 302,000?
We had a pandemic.
No, I didn't ask you. No, so the pandemic was for 4 years.
No, but that's when he was able to push through those things.
We had 100. No. Before the pandemic, did we have these numbers? No. This is a choice. Listen to this too. Another question on this too, with these illegals and with Joe Biden. We literally, these numbers we're seeing, just we had 160, I think it's about 167 people on the terrorist watch list in 1 year, I think it is. And the Trump administration had on the terrorist watch list like 6 1 year. I think a couple, like less than 6 1 year. 9, like it was like the whole Trump administration for like 4 years was something like 15 terrorist watch list. We had 167 in 1 year. This is a choice. Is that okay with you?
It's not, but at the same time, they were caught. They didn't sneak through.
How many do you think were not caught? We've had 76,000 gotaways this fiscal year so far in a couple months. How many do you think have not been caught? Because 76,000 gotaways doesn't mean that's how many gotaways. There's more that we don't catch. Because all the border patrol all the border patrol is doing is processing Joe's illegals. That's all they're doing. He doesn't want them doing enforcement. He wants them processing, stamping them. You okay with that?
We definitely need more border enforcement.
No, we don't need border enforcement. We need Trump's policies.
Who would appoint that? Congress.
We don't need no. We don't need more border patrol to process the illegals. We need to put the Trump policies back in order. Take away the pandemic stuff. We don't need that's not relevant. Put it back in policy where we say remain in Mexico. Put a trade tariff on Mexico if they refuse to go along with that. We own them. But Joe Biden is bent over, and Mexico owns us because Joe Biden chooses to do things that way. This is a choice. Saying it's Congress is a cop-out. It's not Congress. It's Joe Biden. Joe Biden's the problem. Congress isn't the problem. And by the way, don't believe me. Look at the numbers. Look at what Democrats say about Joe Biden. Look at the numbers on illegal immigration, what people say in this country. It's, I think his approval rating on illegals handling the illegal invasion is like 26% or 14% approval. I mean, it's abysmal. Nobody thinks his policies work. It's not the government. It's not the Congress. It's not our laws. We don't need any new laws. We need them to be enforced. It's very simple. So, I mean, you can pretend it's nebulous and scratch your head. Just move to the side here. We'll take care of this. We'll remove Joe Biden. We'll put in President Trump. And it'll be fixed within a couple months. Less than that. It'll stop immediately. So, thank you for your call, though. Let's see here. Let's go to Paul in Paramus, New Jersey. Paul, you're on Red Eye Radio.
Yeah, hi, Chris. Of course, I agree with Governor Abbott. He has no choice but to do what he does. But don't be so sure that the Democrats will pay at the ballot box, because if they switch out Joe Biden, which they might do, the next person could just moderate on the issue, and it will be forgotten.
Absolutely correct.
And also, it's not going to be so. This is basically turning our country into a third world hellhole.
Yes, it is.
For long-term Democrat rule like they have in California.
Yes.
And it's going to be pretty darn difficult to deport these illegals, even if Trump gets in. If he puts them in camps and gets ready to deport them, the press will say, "Oh, look at them! They're in concentration camps," and all kinds of things like that.
Correct. But the good news is Trump doesn't care anymore. You're right. But the good news is Trump doesn't care anymore because it's his last term, and he'll go. He'll do what he wants to do to take this country to the right direction, I think.
Oh, I hope you're right. But he does care about his popularity. It's not just Biden, it's the Democrats that support this, because this is essentially an impeachable offense. And if the Senate were to impeach, if the House would impeach, the Senate would definitely turn this down. They want it.
They won't. Yes, it'll be a great thing. They'll be, look at this. They're wasting time with an impeachment. Oh, yeah, they want that. That's right.
Yeah,
they do. Democrats want an impeachment. It's like a Hail Mary for them.
Yeah, no, and you know, Biden, even if he leaves, he'll be looked at. He took one for the team, even if his numbers go down.
Yes,
but they could easily switch him out to. I don't think they'll switch to Gavin. They'll probably switch to a female because they don't want to alienate the female black vote.
We can only hope cackling Kamala, or Kamala, as I like to call her, cackling Kamala, would be running. But here's the thing. I think that a lot of what you were saying was absolutely correct. I agree with it. But I think that it's real simple. I will go berserk for any Republican or any Republican or independent who starts to try to broach some amnesty garbage for anyone. To me, until every one of these illegals that Joe Biden has invited in for 3 years, and you might think this is unrealistic, I don't care. This is my feeling on this. This is my thought. Until every one of these illegals that Joe Biden has allowed to invade and take over our country over the past 3 years, until every one of them is gone, no deal for anything. Nothing. Get a ticker going, tick all the numbers. Every one of these illegals, get the heck out of this country. No deal, no amnesty, no nothing. Build a wall, pass laws, fix it, or you ain't getting nothing. And I can tell you this, anybody who tries to do any of this crap. I was in Atlanta, Georgia, at a big talk station there when George Bush tried to do his amnesty thing. And I led, as a local host at that time, a rally with hundreds of people that showed up. And we were in the shadow of the former Georgia Senator, what was his name? Johnny Isaacson. I believe. And it's been a little while. It's been almost 20 years. And I remember we had a big show. I was like 300-400 people there. Massive on-air event. And we said, come out here and change your vote, or we're going to flush you out. We're going to vote you out, I should say. And Johnny Isaacson changed his mind. And I do believe that the listeners and I were responsible for him saying, okay, this is really a bad look for me. It was fantastic. And that kind of stuff is, I think, personally, I feel like I've been lit on fire like 20 times worse than that. This is insane. This is destruction of our country. Coming up next, we got one line open, by the way, 2 lines open at Red Eye Radio. And we're going to talk to many of you coming up next. Jim in Lisle, Illinois. We got William in Justice, Illinois. So many of you coming up next, I promise. Red Eye Radio, it's Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary. They'll be back tomorrow. 2 lines open at 866-90 Red Eye, 866-907-3339 on Red Eye Radio.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at JJ Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on roadside inspections. At a roadside inspection, inspectors may ask to see supporting documents. A supporting document is a document generated or received by a motor carrier in the normal course of business that can be used by law enforcement to verify a driver's logs. These documents can include bills of lading, itineraries, schedules, or equivalent documents that indicate the origin and destination of each trip. They can also include dispatch or trip records, expense receipts related to on-duty/not driving periods, including receipts for meals, lodging, and fuel, electronic mobile communication transmitted through a fleet management system, and payroll records, settlement sheets, or equivalent documents that indicate payment to a driver. Drivers using paper logs must also keep toll receipts. Supporting documents must contain the driver's name, carrier-assigned identification number or vehicle unit number that can be linked to the driver, the date, the name of the nearest city, town, or village, and the time. This tip was brought to you by JJ Keller & Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary, Red Eye Radio. Japan, explosion, plane on fire, runway on fire. It's just terrible news. Pray for the people of Japan. We're going to do more of this illegal invasion up next on Red Eye Radio.
Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios. Now for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, Chris Krok.
Governor Greg Abbott is busing in illegals and humanely dumping them in, I say that affectionately, not negatively, in 7 miles south of Chicago in Kankakee, Illinois. Then he's also flying them in 355 in one flight to Rockford, Illinois, which is about an hour and a half to 2 hours west of the city of Chicago. And then those municipalities are busing the illegals into Chicago as they've changed their policies. The mayor of Chicago, Denver, and New York saying you must only drop off the illegals at one location and it's only open 8:30 to noon Monday through Friday. Does Texas get to do that with the illegals, invading them? No. And then you've got loony leftist people like this alderman in Chicago saying this.
We've seen the conditions worsening because of the tactics that continue to be worsening. Now we see Governor Abbott even sending people by plane, which is putting really our communities not only at risk, but it is really putting our whole communities at the brink of collapse.
Welcome to the club, Governor Abbott would say in Texas, right? Also, so that's what we're talking about. I'm wondering if you're okay with that. If you think it's okay to just fly in and bust these illegals in 85,000 last year, 2023 from Governor Abbott. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I love it. And even if I lived in the city of Chicago or New York or Denver, I'd say keep bringing it in. Anything that can stop this invasion of our country and destruction of it is, we must stop this. This should be stopped 2-3 years ago. This is insanity, and it is turning us into a third world country. It is replacing voters with a new league of people that eventually will vote, and they'll hopefully vote Democrat, is what Joe Biden thinks and is doing. He's also importing all these illegals in for his rich Democrat and Republican friends. They want cheap labor as they undermine us in this economy. It's just so sick to see what's happening. It's beyond sick. It's vile. It's reprehensible. So we got 2 lines open. 3 lines open. 866-90 Red Eye is our number. Are you okay with that? Are you okay with this this strategy of doing this, dumping them in? As we just found out, December has the highest amount of illegals ever coming into our country, 302,000 illegals. Never before has America seen 302,000 illegals in 1 month, and that shatters the September record of 267,000 illegals in 1 month, which used to be the highest amount ever in our country. Also, breaking news just coming through the wires, Japan airline inferno. This is horrific. My son will be studying in Japan for a semester this spring, and believe me, my wife was flipping out when we saw this 6.7 or 7.6 magnitude earthquake in Japan, and we just see this. This is so sad. Pray for the Japanese people, because Japan airliner inferno. This comes in from Daily Mail. Reuters initially had it. It's just breaking. You can see this horror on my Twitter feed at Chris Krok Show. That's at Chris Krok Show. CHRISKROK. I've been retweeting the videos that are coming in from the Japanese from Tokyo, one of their airports. This is Tokyo Airport. Let me read this, though, from coming in moments ago. Japan airliner inferno. Flames engulf plane carrying more than 300 passengers after colliding with Coast Guard aircraft at Tokyo's Haneda Airport. See, here's what I was talking to Brian from the Red Eye Radio producer booth there, is they're already in a crisis with a 7.6 Richter scale earthquake. Tsunamis coming in. And so that's probably why they got all sorts of stuff happening, and so that's probably why that they had this crash of some sort, because they're running wild for 24, 48 hours with the 7.6 magnitude earthquake. So one day after that, a large airliner carrying more than 300 passengers caught fire today, earlier at least, coming across my wire, at an airport near Tokyo. Just after this horrible earthquake. Shocking footage showing the Japan Airlines, JAL, jet engulfed in a raging inferno as it sat on the runway at Haneda Airport in Ota City, Tokyo, with gouts of flames seen pouring out of the passenger windows. This is horrific, guys. I am so sorry for Japan. The airliner collided with a Coast Guard plane as it traveled down the runway. Japanese TV reported, with the collision causing the plane to erupt in flames. I mean, we could be seeing, one of the numbers I saw was 367 people. We could have 367 people dead on that plane, or this is horrific. One eyewitness wrote on Twitter, a plane, I don't call it X, a plane exploded in front of me, and shared a clip of the passenger jet set on fire, which is on my Twitter feed. I retweeted that. That's all they have. Reuters had one sentence, so that's all I got right now. CNN has nothing. Fox News has nothing right now. That's how fresh this is. Pray for Japan, guys. Let's go to, let's see here, guys. Let's go to Charlotte in Pittsburgh. By the way, Charlotte, you're on Red Eye Radio, but Charlotte, the number of illegals that came in December, 302,000 in 1 month, the greatest ever in our history of our country, is the size of the city of Pittsburgh. That's how many people live in Pittsburgh. Fox News is reporting earlier today. So you would know more than me, but that's what they said. So this is just sick.
Yes, that's right.
Go ahead.
Yes, I was calling because I wanted to say that Global Compact for Safe, Orderly, and Regular Migration of 2018 is on the UN site.
Right.
Furthermore, it says that it is non-binding and cooperative. Non-binding means without legal obligation to fulfill the outlined transactions, duties, and services.
Right.
And
it's what Joe Biden
so
wants and the Democrats want. Yeah.
Yes,
the
it's
choice.
voluntary. And then furthermore, it says each state, meaning nation, retains its sovereignty to decide who stays and who goes.
Right.
So this is purely voluntary and donation of our taxpayer money and services to do this. And there's when you have to look at that non-binding word, because a binding agreement requires 2/3 Senate approval. And you look at the words they're using: agreement, document. Nothing. They're staying away from the word treaty. Okay, and they're staying away from the word binding. And like years ago in California, when they were busing in illegals, probably during Obama, during the 2016, there was a bunch of mothers predominantly that carried signs where the buses were going to unload. So the buses had to drive away with their occupants because the protesting mothers wouldn't let them get out, or were just there objecting to it strongly. So that's what people have to do. And maybe they want to put signs out. Get out. No trespassing seems to give you more legal right. And those people in California, why don't they start spraying their property with coyote urine or, something obnoxious that people won't want to be on their property because of the way it stinks. So that's just one aversion type of thing you can do because they're spending our money. And Sanctuary City is just a declaration. It has no legality to it. And the same with this global compact thing. The United States, Israel, Poland, Czechoslovakia, and Hungary were the 5 vetoing nations. 14, Australia.
Thank
Italy,
God for Hungary. Thank God for Hungary. Thank God for Poland. And these other Czechoslovakia, I'm proud to say that I'm half Polish, half Czech because Hungary's great too. We have relatives, in-laws from Hungary, and that escaped the communism there that are now elderly and fled, and Hungary is back on track, better than ever. And they are what we used to be. Proud of your country, proud of everything. I'm seeing more horror in Japan. I have some good news though. But the best picture I've ever seen in my life on this so far is insane, and I'm seeing the plane with people. The number, it is horrifying to look at this. Yeah, there's not much to hear on this. It's Japanese coverage. But I'm just looking at this, and it's insane what's happening in Japan. This plane, thankfully, I did see all passengers appeared to, according to BNO News, all passengers appear to have survived the aircraft collision at Tokyo Airport, according to NHK, which is the Japanese network. But wow. Okay, coming up next, we're gonna. We have time for another call or two, Brian. Okay, let's go to. Let's see here, y'all. Let's go to Jim in Lisle, Illinois. Speaking of Illinois and the invasion. Hey, Jim, you're on Red Eye Radio. Hi.
Hey, Chris. Yeah, I live in DuPage County. In the last few days, it gets much better. God bless Governor Abbott. It isn't just Kankakee and Rockford. He's been sending buses in the last 3 or 4 days to communities like Downers Grove, Lisle, Naperville, Hinsdale, where the median home price is $1.6 million. That's a median home price.
Yep.
And he's dropping them off at the metro stations, which is the Chicago area commuter line down in the city, and they're all getting on the trains, and they're going right into the city.
Good.
God bless Governor Abbott. To answer
right.
your question, yes, I approve, and I'm from Illinois, a sanctuary state.
Yep. Good. So you want this invasion to stop it by inflaming
It is, yes, because it is having its desired effect. These people, these Lululemon housewives with their hate has no home signs here in front of their yards.
Yes.
It's coming home to roost.
Yes.
They don't know what to do. And to the guy in Paramus, New Jersey, who said he's not sure that this is going to affect the Democrats at the ballot box, let me tell you something. That's all suburban Chicago people are talking about.
Let me tell you why.
Red hot.
Let me tell you this. Let me tell you what I did. I went, I'm born and raised in the city of Chicago and suburbs. And I was at a sports bar nearby my hotel near O'Hare, and I visited with two of my buddies who are from the north and northwest suburbs. And they're liberal Democrats, friends of mine that we didn't do that in high school and college. We didn't talk about that crap. We didn't care about it. But we're still very close to this day, and they're diametrically opposed to my politics. But here's the thing. Stuff comes up naturally as we're visiting, and I don't do politics with them because I want to be their friend. I want to love them. I've been friends with them for decades, but it came up naturally, and my liberal Democrat friends from suburban Chicago, just a week or two ago when I was in town, said that this is unbelievable, this is horrific, this is terrible, and so they see it and they know it. Huh?
And that's repeating itself all over the suburban, from Will County to Lake County.
Yeah, one's in Northbrook, I think that's Cook still. I don't know if I'm right, County. And then another one's in Buffalo Grove in Cook. So they know. They see it. This is people need to hear this. Jim, you're in Lisle, which is DuPage County, one of the suburban one of the metro counties of Chicagoland with 8 million people in it. So people need to hear this. In Lake, in Cook, in DuPage, where millions of people live that tend to vote Democrat, that put that Pritzker in office for the governorship and put these people in office, they're reviling, they're disgusted by this, and it's working.
They're infuriated. Even the very woke housewives that like to sip their lattes, it's affecting them. It's in their face. I congratulate Governor Abbott.
Yes.
It's having its desired effect.
Amen. Pete, thank you, brother. Thank you. And I want you to hear this because it doesn't matter if you're in New York, if you're in California, if you're in Illinois, in Colorado, it doesn't matter. It's working. With only 85,000 illegals sent from Texas to these sanctuary cities, it is working. Now, Governor Abbott, I beg of you to double it and triple it. Make it 170,000 illegals. Make it 210,000 illegals. Bury them in illegals. Bury them in illegals. Just please. I would love to donate to a fund, which I think Texas does have one, by the way. Look it up. To help fund, to fly and send the illegals outside of town, outside of their states, into the sanctuary cities, if these people want to go, these illegals. All right, coming up next, we'll take more of your calls. It's Chris Krok in for Eric and Gary on Red Eye Radio.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
Eric and Gary back tonight/tomorrow. Chris Krok for Eric and Gary. Let's pop on a caller. Let's go to William in Justice, Illinois. You're on Red Eye Radio.
Hey, good morning, Chris. How are you?
Morning. Good, sir.
Hey, real quick, I'll make this brief. I brought my beautiful wife here from Denmark. It cost me $10,000 to get her into this country legally and become a citizen. I'm sure I'm not alone in this. And we never asked for $1 from the government or anyone else. And everyone else is coming here for free now. I'm like, no, this isn't fair.
Amen. It's well said, William. So you support this Governor Abbott dumping the illegals there in your state to help stop it?
Absolutely. I'm leaving here and I'm going to Texas. We're going.
I think it's smart. I think you're a smart man. I wish you the best, brother. All right, so we got some other folks in Rockford, Illinois. We'll talk to and such as well on this. It's pretty interesting to see people in Illinois say, "Yes, this is good." Tokyo Airport, everybody survived according to reports I'm seeing now, but that plane carries about 300 to 350 people at the airport. There is aflame. Pray for Japan, man. A lot of stuff going on there.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.